There
We'll
we go.
see what we can do. All right. I see some go live buttons popping up here.
Mr. Niccolo,
Dude.
how you doing?
First 3 platform live stream happening right now.
Live on Instagram, live on Facebook, and live on LinkedIn.
Yes. Yes. Can you hear the echo from my phone still, or is it okay? You can?
Yeah.
Okay, give me 1 second, man. I'm just going to put the headphones on this sucker because it'll make for a much more enjoyable experience for everybody.
That's okay.
So
for those
talk
tuning
amongst
in,
yourselves.
yeah. For those tuning in, Trev and I are going live twice a week for the Extremely Conscious Man journey, and so it's the journey of when we first met in West Kelowna, the conversations that unfolded, and what's happened since. We've had a men's retreat. We have a group called the Inner Circle, which is a group of men that simply we work together daily on, all things in our lives that are real, our careers, our marriages, being conscious parents. And now we are at a stage where we have our next retreat coming up next month in beautiful Costa Rica. And we have some men that have stepped forward already. And we're here to talk about the challenges, the trials, the tribulations, and the beauty of it all, and how we're just surrendering and flowing the best that we can.
In every single moment with everything that's presented in front of us and speaking transparently and truthfully about the whole journey. Hey, Mike?
Yeah, there's no secrets in this. I mean, if we're going to be truthfully integrity with what we're doing and the conversations that we have with the men that are part of our inner circle and our betterman community and all these groups, we have to share the truth. And the truth is that it's not a smooth journey.
No.
That, I have a little guy upstairs sick today. I have calls after this, calls before this with my team, and you've got a million things going on, and yet, we're fired up by what is to come and what we work on every day.
Yeah, and I didn't even tell you what I titled this one, but it's exactly what we're talking about, which is, you want the truth? You want the truth, do you? We're 4 weeks from Costa Rica, almost to the day. I think we're 27 days away now, so it's a little bit under 4 weeks. And to just give everybody a little glimpse as to like all of the moving parts here, Mike's already alluding to the fact that we have everyday lives just like everybody that's watching and listening to this, with regards to families and spouses and, bills to pay and food to cook and people to see and attention to give and energy to share and all that kind of stuff. And then with regards to our work stuff, like you work in a full-time job. I work with a handful of clients, which essentially could be deemed a very similar type of thing. It demands a certain amount of my time. And then there's this and the inner circle. And the inner circle, of course, is something that, I would say that there's a good hour a day where we are focused and intentional in being in the WhatsApp group and just considering, the prompts that we're putting in for the guys and moving things forward and just co-creating all of the possibilities that exist there too. Cause, we've been interviewing a lot of the guys that have joined us, and those have been great conversations. And there's just so many possibilities popping up in front of us with regards to the inner circle, and they're all unfolding as fast as they possibly can. And you and I have really leaned in to the co-creation side of that too. Let's maybe speak about that just kind of as we were exiting the conversation last time of like, what is this inner circle and what the heck are we up to? And then we can talk a bit more about the experience and what's going on there too. But do you want to maybe talk to that and what we're experiencing and all the prompts?
Totally. Yeah. So our inner circle's been a beautiful group, of we have 10 other men inside our group. And essentially we've created an amazing habit tracker that we all commit to every single day and that we can all see of each other's. And we're checking in with a WhatsApp group twice a day. But the reality is that we are co-creating this as we go. So Trev and I have laid a lot of groundwork and a foundation for it all. We've created this space for it all. We do these prompts, but now we're in a place where we're really exploring and getting feedback from all the men in our group as well. Because the reality is that they're highly intelligent men, and they're driven, and they're going through similar things. And so we want their feedback. These are what we call our founding members of this group. And it's really exciting because now we're at a place where we're changing things up, and they're going to lead some of the questions. And we're leaning into the work as well, saying this is where we need support. And, again, it's through this whole journey, it's been that we always are committed to doing the work ourselves. And that's the stage that we're at, is really opening up vulnerably to these guys as well. And, putting these questions out there and shaping things now together.
Yeah. And I think what we found in the first couple of months here too was that the initial part was just the feeling out, getting to know each other. Do I really want to spend time with these guys? Do I got time for this? What stories am I telling myself? And then there was some connection that started to happen as people started to share more openly and vulnerably and honestly about what's going on in their lives. And then we recognized, man, we're all very similar here, and we're all on similar journeys. And for some people that are crystal clear on their vision and mission and where they're going, they're finding even further refinement in it. And for those that don't have that kind of clarity, they're being presented with opportunities to ask themselves questions to get closer to that. And I think of almost two ends of a spectrum, right? It's like the micro and the macro. So we talk about the micro in the actions that we take every single day. And you and I were just joking about it because you had a bunch of raspberry jam on your hand a second ago. And I was saying that, yeah, man, it's so funny because when I got raspberry jam in my hand because the kids were eating toast, I used to just eat it up, right? Like, why? I'm not going to wipe my hand. I'm just going to eat it. And now I don't do that. And it's such a small little thing, but I've chosen to be conscious about what I'm putting in my body. And that's not to say that I don't eat chocolate cake, because I eat chocolate cake and I eat a piece of toast once in a while. But just that little micro bit is huge. It's huge. And a lot of times we overlook that. We underestimate what we can get done in 10 years and overestimate. What's the term again? We underestimate in 10 years and overestimate in a year? Or is it the opposite? I can't remember.
I know where you're going with it.
Yeah, something like that.
But yeah, it is.
Something
it's
like
the magic of these micro actions and the small changes we're making. And then when you talk about the macro, that's been an amazing place to look at in these conversations we're getting into with all of these men is, what we desire to create in our futures. And when we go through exercises like writing letters to ourselves, which we did recently this week, and it was so powerful. And then we start to connect on, well, yeah, I want to start a retreat that's in X place. How could we invest together? How can we take your skill set and my skill set and actually create these big visions? And so that's, truly what we're doing. And we've always, it's another pillar of the extremely conscious man is that we are all mentors as well, right? And in being a mentor and receiving mentorship, a big part of being a guide or a coach in anything we do is being able to lean into both sides of that. We know that we're here to serve, but we know that, we don't have all the answers. And so receiving is just as important. And if we don't continue to do the work, lean in, get uncomfortable ourselves, and be open to receiving from those that may be on a more, further part of the journey, then frankly, we're not doing it right. And at the same time, that's what's within our inner circle. We've always said, we're not the kings. We're not the leaders. We're not, there aren't any. We're all equals.
Yeah, we're co-creating all with a similar vision. And I think that's what keeps popping up in front of everybody with every conversation. I know we had a great chat with Joe, and he was expressing his desire to essentially create what it is that we started here with the extremely conscious man movement. And then very quickly realized that he doesn't have to create that. We can all go co-create that. And then he brought in the idea, which both you and I have talked about too, of co-preneurs, where husbands and wives and, partners work together in this world to create the life that they desire. They break free from the jobs and everything else, and they go and they travel the world and create their own destiny, and his desire to build that. And I know one of the things that's come up a lot lately is this idea of competition. We've been speaking about it openly.
Yep.
And how it truly is a very toxic way of thinking. It's such a scarcity mindset. It doesn't allow for expansive abundance and the ability for everybody to rise. And I know you and me, and then through this channel that people on Instagram are watching right now, we've been sharing other people's stuff and openly telling others, you know, go experience the gifts that these people have to bring to the world, because there are so many people that have a lot to offer. And a lot of times it seems as though people stop themselves because they feel as though it'll take away from them, as opposed to lifting all the boats, right? That rising tide truly does lift all boats. And we get to act like it, not just say it.
And it's a really important one you bring up, because we've noticed even, you know, it's the framework of masculinity. We have competition built into our DNA, right? Growing up with sports and fighting and being protectors and doing all the things that have been put upon us over the years. And this is, even when you start to lean into this work, you want to authentically just lean in, but not everybody is doing it from a heart-centered place, right? There is that competitive nature, whereas we want to break that mold. We do. We're on a genuine mission to try to raise consciousness of men, and that's where we're starting anyways. And you know, that means collaboration. That includes, you know, the women that want to see the change in these men as well, and we want to lift them up as often and as much as we can. And that includes any other coach or program or group of men that are in the space of building up men and raising consciousness of other men. We want to raise them up, because there's enough men in this world that need the help, you know, and that need to see the light and that need to step into it, that, you know, we need to be in it together. We truly do.
Yeah. Yeah. And on a personal level, you know, we put this on the poster and right on the website. You know, if you desire to have it all in life, you get to fill your cup first. And that's naturally, all those words are about self, right? And it's very easy to go, well, that's selfish for you to want to have it all. What do you mean have it all? Does that mean you have it all and I don't have any? And it brings up such a great conversation on the topic, right? And I think that's the most important thing to recognize, is that it is intended to get the attention of somebody, knowing that we do desire to have many, many things in our life, you know, good health, great relationships, all the money, the admiration, the influence, the impact, the connection to self, all that kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, what we're really doing here is leveling up every single person, knowing that the collective is actually going to create the change that we all desire. Because for anybody that doesn't know, Mike and I are both dads. We both have 2 boys. They're very similar in age. And whenever you become a parent, your values and your priorities and your why changes. It just naturally does. And we recognize that, yes, we were the best teachers for our kids, but we weren't necessarily operating in that way. So we chose to start moving in that direction, and hence what brought us to this place. But then we also realized that every single other man is also providing the blueprint for what it means to be a man, and that there's no one way, and that we can't do this alone. We just can't. And, you know, I've met a lot of great people here locally in my community, thankfully, that, you know, we put ourselves out there to go and reach out and connect and have those deeper conversations. And I've recognized that, man, there's some really incredible people around me. What if I lifted them up and then asked them for help as well? What could we go create together? Yeah. And we're now in those conversations, and we're moving in that direction. I know you're doing the same on a local level back home in Canada as well. And
yeah. And I mean, let's talk about another theme that we're seeing, you know, in all these conversations truly is unfortunately another side effect of being a man is, you know, we don't want to always lean into this type of work, and we don't want to always ask for help, even if we're feeling that. And in a lot of the social networks that Trev and I've been in lately, a lot of the women are coming forth, the wives, the partners, and saying, yes, I want my husband to explore this work. I want him to see that video. I want him to be there. But, you know, it's us, again, the men, that are creating those blocks. we're coming up with the time and the money story consistently to say, well, no, I can't invest in that. I can't invest in me. That is selfish, as you brought up. Or that's going to take away from our family vacation. Or, I've been saving for a down payment on my dirt bike, or whatever the case is. There's all these pieces that come up. Or I just started a new job. How could I take time off of that, right? But I'm telling you that all the ladies in our lives want us to show up for this work. And you're going to actually see, Trev and I have leaned into this space because we've talked to our wives and asked them, what have you seen in us since we started this work? And it's not all pretty answers. It hasn't been a smooth journey, but we had them record videos, and we're going to share those soon. And some of the other men in our inner circle might do that as well, because it's incredible to see the change and the ripple effect that we've been able to create, not only as dads and as husbands, but in all facets of our life, and leaning into this work. And yes, it's hard, and yes, it's awkward, and yes, people might look at us funny, and our friends might question, what kind of Kool-Aid is he drinking? And all of these things, especially at different ages in our lives, if we're in different social circles, when we make these changes, it's disruptive to everybody around us, because we sometimes become a reflection of, the courage that they wish they had, or something they want to step forward with, and they haven't done it. So, or it's on a topic that they wish they could explore a little bit deeper, or they just have the urge, they really want to step forward. But again, the courage isn't there yet. And we're trying to break down those barriers and welcome anybody with open arms at any level, any entry point of this journey, because we're all on this journey together. To say, step forward, ask questions, poke, prod, we'll tell you how we did it. And I'll tell you, it's a journey, and there is no destination. We haven't arrived. We're only a couple years in ourselves, and there's still a hell of a lot to learn out there. And we do it day by day.
Yeah, man. And that was the conversation before we even hopped on here. Mike and I had just got off a call actually with somebody locally here who we're collaborating with for one of the activities for our retreat here in Costa Rica, which we won't disclose any of the details, because this is truly the mystery event that's going to have such an impact on every single person that's there that it gets to be a surprise. But, we were just recognizing that these things in our lives, even, forget about projecting it onto other people, but what about our lives, where you're feeling that stress and everything just feels heavy, and you don't know, the dishes aren't put away right, and you forgot to put that laundry in the dryer, and you got in a little argument with your wife, or you got upset with your kids. That's what I spoke about this morning in my video. The fact that, my oldest son, Logan, grabbed Bodhi, our youngest son's new electric drum set, and just started smashing it on the ground this morning. And I got upset. I yelled at him, and he was upset. And I went into an old hurt version of myself, and went into my shell and didn't address it. And then he went off to school, and I felt terrible all morning. But I sat with that, and I recognized, who am I being, and how do I get to change this? How do I get to lead with love? But that's kind of a side note to what I was going to say, is that, where do we stress out and worry about these things in life that, quite frankly, don't matter that much? We just get to recognize that, hey, here we are, Mike. We're streaming live on 3 different platforms across the interwebs through a satellite down to somebody's phone or computer around the world, getting to speak about this stuff where somebody might hear it and recognize that their problems aren't that damn big either. Because the call that we had today, we recognize that, we all have a very, very privileged life. And the little things that we worry about on a day-to-day basis, they really don't matter that much. It's all perspective.
It is. It's just another challenge we're facing along the way. This is just another layer of the journey, because as we talked after that call really gave us true perspective to be grateful where we came from and how we grew up, based on the information and who we were chatting with. And it did really, it gave me a bit of anger and frustration in me, almost, to be honest, because again, as we go into our different interactions in our daily lives, we hear all these complaints consistently, and it just allows us to reflect and really project love to those people, because we all do need to put perspective consistently in our daily life and be grateful for how we grew up in North America. to be honest. Like it's we're so blessed compared to so many other people. And yeah, for me, it was just another layer of our journey of something we get to explore. And I get to explore to say, no, I shouldn't be frustrated or angry at any of these people with complaints, because they're doing the best they can from the perspective that they have. And, you know, they're slowly evolving as well. And they're just not there yet. So it's, that's what we get the opportunity to explore. Because again, you know, your frustration this morning, we're not perfect. We still experience all these things, but the evolution is that we now observe it, you know, and we give ourselves some grace first to realize, you know, it takes a long time to say goodbye to certain parts of ourselves. And, but we have that observation now, and it disrupts what our regular patterns would be, which could be stewing all over that all day long, you know, your past self.
Yeah. And there's all kinds of scientific, you know, truth that tells us that we are the creators of our reality, and our thoughts do make up our physical being, and how we ultimately manifest this life. And I think the one thing that maybe we should wrap on here too, because I know both of us shouted out on this, but there was a guy locally here that you and I were going to meet with. His name's Ari Gold. And I didn't know him. Neither of us had met him in person, but I had chatted a little bit with him online, you know, shared some of his stuff because I just appreciated his vibe. In fact, I didn't even know who he was until you told me, like, oh, that's the guy I've been talking to about doing the breathwork thing when I landed in Costa Rica. Yeah. And we found out that he passed away the other day. And it became another piece for both of us to go, man, this life is so precious. Like, what are we waiting for? Are we waiting for the right time, the right moment, the right person to give us permission? You know, what are we waiting for to live our best life right now? And what's stopping us? I think that's the bigger question to ask.
What story are we telling ourselves? Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that was a big one. It really did, again, on one of those other layers of perspective that we needed to see right now, and we needed to hear. And it really did just honestly smack me in the face personally. I listened to his voice notes again yesterday, just because it was someone I was just talking to and planning with, and all of a sudden he's gone, and someone who had so much light to bring to this world and is so amazing. And when I think about how many people are out there that are holding their gifts back, you know, things like he had, and will never deliver them to the world. At least this amazing human stepped forward with courage, and he was on such an incredible journey, and he touched so many lives. But how many are going to hold those back their whole lives, or wait for permission, or tell themselves stories? And that's the scary part. And that's, you know, it's time to shine your light.
And how can we be a part of that change and not even attached to being the owners of this extremely conscious man movement? And we're the guys that did it. Like, I don't care about that, man. I care about the movement happening. And if you and I can lift others to either step into the gifts that they're holding back on, or just sharing the gifts that they're already fully stepped into, then we're all for that. And we're here to lead by example. And we're not here to say that it's without discomfort, because quite frankly, we have the same conversations too of, you know, there's only so many hours in the day, or is there? Can we expand time? Can we find ways to be able to serve and support and lift each other up all the time, even when we think our internal world is falling apart and we're trying to figure out how to navigate kids and jelly on the fingers and everything in between?
Well, with that, we're over our regular time. We always want to keep these under 25 minutes. But in supporting everybody out there, guys, we have, our big peak event is next month in Costa Rica, April 24th to 28th. And it is the Extremely Conscious Man experience with some amazing peak experiences, food, and some deep inner reflection and everything. We'll drop the link as we normally do. But beyond that, if you ever have any questions, you need support, Trev and I are here. We openly welcome it on any of our channels. We have an amazing Facebook group called the Betterman Community, which is free. And then we have, an inner circle, which is, there is an investment. That next cohort will likely be launching in June, July, but it's very powerful as well. So whatever level you're at, we're here to support. And again, this is our mission, to help raise the consciousness of men and in turn, everyone. And yeah, on that, tons of love, guys.
That's what we're here to do. This is fun stuff. Thanks so much for watching, everyone. Love you,
Appreciate
brother.
you tuning in.
Talk to you again
Love you,
soon.
dude.